Commander Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the U's Horizon, watching the stars drift by on the main screen. It was supposed to be a routine patrol around Earth's outer defense zone. The same patrol he had done hundreds of times before. The same empty space, the same distant planets, the same reports to file when they returned to base. Jake had been commanding the Horizon for 3 years now. His crew knew their jobs well. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez handled communications from her station on the left side of the bridge. She was young but skilled, and Jake trusted her completely. Chief Engineer Carl Thompson kept the engines running, smoothed down in the lower decks. Navigation Officer Rick Turner plotted their course with perfect precision every time. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Jake was reviewing supply reports when Amy suddenly straightened. At her station, her fingers moved quickly across her control panel, checking readings twice. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual on long-range sensors," Amy said, her voice carrying just a hint of concern. Jake looked up from his reports. "What kind of something, Lieutenant?" "An unknown vessel approaching from the outer system. It's moving fast, sir, really fast." Jake stood up and walked over to Amy's station. The sensor display showed a small blip moving toward Earth at incredible speed. Too fast for any human ship they knew about. "How fast are we talking?" Jake asked. Amy checked her readings again. "At least 3 times faster than our best ships, Commander. And the energy signature is completely different from anything in our databases." Jake felt his stomach tighten. In all his years of service, they had never encountered anything like this. Earth had been searching for signs of alien life for decades, but they had never found anything. Most people believed humans were alone in the universe. "Put the ship on yellow alert," Jake ordered, "and get me Captain Bennett on the comm." The bridge lights shifted to a soft yellow glow. Jake heard the alert tone echo through the ship's corridors. His crew would be moving to their stations now, preparing for whatever was coming. Lisa Bennett's face appeared on the main screen. She was Earth's chief liaison officer, responsible for all first contact protocols. Not that anyone expected to actually use those protocols. "What's the situation, Jake?" Lisa asked. "We have an unknown vessel approaching Earth at high speed. The energy signature doesn't match anything we've seen before." Lisa's expression grew serious. "How long until it reaches our position?" Amy called out from her station. "Approximately 18 minutes at current speed, Commander." Lisa nodded. "I'm sending Dr. Kevin Hall and Dr. Susan Wright to your position immediately. Dr. Hall is our best xenobiologist, and Dr. Wright specializes in cultural contact situations. If this is what we think it might be, we need them there." Jake had heard of both doctors. Kevin Hall had spent his career studying the possibility of alien life. Susan Wright was an expert in how different cultures might interact. Both had trained for first contact scenarios that most people thought would never happen. "Understood, Captain. We'll be ready." The connection ended, and Jake turned back to his crew. "You heard that. We might be about to make history today. Everyone, stay sharp and follow protocols." 15 minutes later, the unknown vessel appeared on their visual sensors. Jake stared at the main screen in amazement. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was smooth and curved, almost like it was grown rather than built. The hull appeared to be made of some kind of crystal that reflected light in strange ways. "It's beautiful," Amy whispered. The alien ship was roughly the same size as the Horizon, but its design was completely different. Where human ships were practical and angular, this vessel flowed like water. It moved through space without any visible engines or exhaust. "Any response to our standard greeting signals?" Jake asked. Amy shook her head. "Nothing, sir. I've tried all our first contact protocols. They're not responding to any of our communication methods." Jake watched the alien ship glide closer. It wasn't moving aggressively, but it wasn't stopping either. "Keep trying, Lieutenant. Use basic mathematics if you have to. Prime numbers, geometric shapes, anything that might show intelligence." For the next few minutes, Amy worked frantically at her station. She sent out mathematical sequences, simple pictures, and even basic music. The alien ship continued its approach but gave no sign that it was receiving or understanding their signals. Then, just as Jake was starting to worry about the ship's intentions, Amy's station lit up with activity. "Commander, I'm getting a response." Amy's voice was excited. "They're sending back mathematical sequences. Simple ones at first, but they're getting more complex." Jake felt a surge of relief and excitement. "Can you establish two-way communication?" "I'm trying, sir. They seem to understand basic mathematics. I'm sending them simple addition problems, and they're solving them correctly." For the next several minutes, Jake watched Amy work to establish communication with the alien vessel. It was like watching two minds slowly learning to understand each other across an impossible gap. Finally, Amy turned to Jake with a smile. "I think I've got something, Commander. They're sending structured signals now. It looks like they're trying to transmit language patterns." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they could hear a strange, musical voice speaking in perfect English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Veltar. We have come to speak with your leaders." Jake felt his heart racing. This was it. The moment that would change everything for humanity. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Horizon. We welcome you to our system." "We thank you for your welcome, Commander Morrison. We have been observing your species for some time. We represent a confederation of worlds, and we have come to evaluate your readiness to join our galactic community." Jake glanced at Amy, who was recording everything. This was beyond anything they had prepared for. "We would be honored to speak with your confederation," Jake replied. "Our leaders will want to meet with you as soon as possible. That is acceptable. We will follow your vessel to your planet. We have much to discuss." As the alien ship moved into formation behind the horizon, Jake realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The question was, were they ready for what came next? The Veltar delegation arrived at Earth 3 days after first contact. Their ship landed smoothly in the designated area outside Geneva, where world leaders had quickly assembled to meet them. Dr. Kevin Hall stood nervously beside the landing pad, adjusting his equipment for the 100th time. This was the moment he had dreamed about his entire career. The alien ship's door opened with a soft hiss, and 3 figures emerged. They were tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their faces were angular, but not unfriendly, and their large eyes held an intelligence that was both alien and familiar. The leader stepped forward and spoke through a small device attached to his chest. "I am Chief Evaluator Zethver of the Veltar. We greet you in the name of the Galactic Confederation." Dr. Susan Wright, standing beside Kevin, felt her heart racing. As a cultural anthropologist, she had studied first contact scenarios for years, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of meeting beings from another world. President Julie Adams stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. We are honored by your visit and eager to learn about your confederation." Zethver nodded slowly. "We have come to conduct a standard evaluation of your species. This process will determine if humanity is ready to join our galactic community. We will observe your cities, your governments, and your people. We will learn about your culture and your capabilities." Over the following weeks, the Veltar team visited major cities around the world. Kevin accompanied them, everywhere documenting their reactions and trying to understand their perspective. Susan worked alongside him, noting how the aliens responded to different aspects of human civilization. In New York, the Veltar observed the bustling crowds and towering buildings. They seemed impressed by human engineering but puzzled by the chaos of city life. Zethver watched people rushing through the streets and asked Kevin many questions. "Why do your people move with such urgency?" Zethver asked as they stood in Times Square. Kevin thought for a moment. "They have jobs to get to, families to see, lives to live. Everyone has their own goals and dreams they're working toward. But this creates inefficiency. Would it not be better to coordinate their movements for maximum productivity?" Kevin smiled. "Maybe, but that's not how we do things. People like having choices about where to go and what to do." The alien evaluator made notes on a strange device that seemed to respond to his thoughts. Kevin could tell that human behavior was not what the Veltar had expected. In London, they visited the British Museum. The aliens examined ancient artifacts and artwork with great interest. Susan watched as Zethver studied a Greek sculpture for nearly an hour. "This serves no practical purpose," the alien finally said. "Yet your people spend considerable time creating it." "Why?" Susan explained about art and beauty, about how humans created things simply because they found them meaningful or beautiful. The Veltar listened carefully, but seemed to struggle with the concept. "Beauty is subjective," Zethver observed. "What one being finds beautiful, another might find ugly. This seems inefficient." "Maybe," Susan replied, "but it makes life more interesting. Art helps us express feelings and ideas that we can't put into words." The aliens visited a concert hall in Vienna where they experienced human music for the first time. The orchestra played Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and Kevin watched the Veltar's reactions carefully. They sat perfectly still throughout the performance, their large eyes fixed on the musicians. Afterward, Zethver approached the conductor. The sounds were organized and complex. But what was the purpose? Did it convey important information? The conductor looked confused. It was beautiful music. It made people feel joy and wonder. "Feel?" Zethver repeated slowly. "Your species makes many decisions based on feelings rather than logic," Kevin nodded. "Emotions are a big part of who we are. They help us connect with each other and find meaning in life." The Veltar team also observed human sports. They attended a football game in Brazil where thousands of fans cheered enthusiastically for their teams. The aliens watched the players compete with intense focus, trying to understand what they were seeing. "This is recreational conflict," Zethver observed. "Your people engage in simulated warfare for entertainment." "It's not warfare," Kevin explained. "It's competition. People enjoy testing their skills against others. It brings communities together. But only one side can win. The other side experiences defeat and disappointment." "This seems counterproductive," Kevin laughed. "That's part of what makes it exciting. The uncertainty, the possibility of winning or losing, it teaches us about perseverance and teamwork." The aliens seemed baffled by human sports. In their confederation, competitions were rare and purely practical. The idea of engaging in difficult activities purely for enjoyment was completely foreign to them. During their visit to a university in Tokyo, the Veltar observed human education. They watched students in classrooms, laboratories, and libraries. Professor Mary Johnson showed them her physics class, where students were learning about quantum mechanics. "Your young study subjects that may not be immediately useful to them," Zethver noted. "In our society, education is focused on practical skills needed for specific roles," Mary smiled. "We believe in learning for its own sake. Students study many subjects to develop their minds and discover what interests them most. Some knowledge might not seem useful now, but it could lead to important discoveries later." The aliens observed that human students asked many questions, even ones that seemed to have no practical purpose. They watched young people debate ideas passionately, sometimes disagreeing with their teachers. This behavior seemed to surprise the Veltar. "Your young challenge authority figures," Zethver observed. "This could lead to social instability." "It could," Mary agreed, "but it also leads to new ideas and progress. When people question things, they sometimes discover better ways of doing them." As the evaluation continued, Kevin and Susan noticed that the Veltar were becoming more puzzled rather than more understanding. Human behavior seemed to contradict everything they knew about intelligent species. The aliens had expected to find a logical, efficient civilization ready to join their confederation. Instead, they found a species that seemed to make decisions based on emotions, created things purely for beauty, and engaged in activities that served no practical purpose. Kevin realized that the Veltar were struggling to understand something fundamental about humanity. They could see that humans were intelligent and capable, but they couldn't comprehend why people acted the way they did. The evaluation was revealing something unexpected about both species, and Kevin wondered what. The aliens would conclude about humanity's readiness to join their galactic community. The earthquake hit Northern California at 3:47 in the morning. It was a massive 7.8 magnitude quake that collapsed buildings and trapped hundreds of people under rubble. By the time the sun rose, the entire region looked like a war zone. Roads were cracked, bridges had fallen, and smoke rose from fires that had started when gas lines broke. Dr. Kevin Hall woke up to his phone buzzing with emergency alerts. He was staying in a hotel in San Francisco with the Veltar delegation when the quake struck. The building shook violently for nearly 2 minutes, and Kevin could hear glass breaking and car alarms going off outside. Chief Evaluator Zethver appeared at Kevin's door within minutes. The alien's pale blue skin seemed even paler than usual, and his large eyes were wide with concern. "Dr. Hall, what was that geological event?" Zethver asked through his translation device. "An earthquake," Kevin replied, checking the news on his tablet. "A big one. There are going to be a lot of people who need help." Within an hour, emergency response teams were mobilizing across the region. The Veltar delegation requested to observe the human response to the disaster. Kevin arranged for them to accompany a rescue team led by Sergeant Tony Martinez, a veteran of many emergency operations. Tony was a stocky man with kind eyes and steady hands. He had been doing rescue work for 15 years, and he knew how to stay calm in the worst situations. When Kevin introduced him to the aliens, Tony just nodded and said they were welcome to come along as long as they stayed out of the way. The rescue team drove through the damaged streets toward the hardest hit areas. Kevin watched the aliens as they observed the destruction. Buildings that had stood for decades were now piles of concrete and steel. Cars were crushed under fallen debris. The smell of dust and smoke filled the air. This level of destruction would require significant resources to repair, Zethver observed. Your people will need to relocate to undamaged areas. Some might, Kevin replied, but most will stay and rebuild. This is their home. The aliens seemed puzzled by this response. In their confederation, logical beings would simply move to safer locations rather than waste resources. Rebuilding in dangerous areas, they arrived at a collapsed apartment building where Tony's team was already working. The building had been 5 stories tall that morning, but now it was just a twisted pile of concrete and metal. Tony studied the debris carefully, listening for any sounds that might indicate survivors trapped inside. "I hear something," Tony announced. "Sounds like someone calling for help about 20 feet in." The rescue required dangerous work. Tony and his team had to crawl through unstable debris, never knowing if the pile might shift and crush them. Kevin watched the aliens as they observed the humans risking their lives to save strangers. "The structural integrity is compromised," Zethver pointed out. "The probability of additional collapse is high. Why do they enter such a dangerous area?" "Because someone is trapped in there," Kevin explained. "Someone who needs help. But the rescuers have no genetic relationship to the trapped individual. They gain no benefit from this action. It is illogical to risk their lives for unknown persons." Kevin was about to respond when they heard Tony's voice from inside the wreckage. "We've got her. She's alive." The team worked for 3 hours to carefully extract an elderly woman from the collapsed building. She was injured but conscious, and she kept thanking the rescuers through her tears. Tony smiled and told her it was just part of the job. As the woman was loaded into an ambulance, Kevin noticed that Zethver was studying the scene with intense focus. The alien was taking detailed notes on his thought-responsive device. "In our confederation," Zethver said quietly, rescue operations are conducted only when the benefit exceeds the risk. The injured individual appears to be beyond her reproductive years and contributes minimal economic value. The logical decision would be to let her die. Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. That's not how we think about it. Every person has value, regardless of age or what they contribute. We help each other because it's the right thing to do. The aliens followed the rescue team to several more locations throughout the day. They watched humans dig through rubble with their bare hands to find survivors. They observed volunteers bringing food and water to rescue workers who had been working for hours without rest. They saw strangers helping strangers with no thought of reward. At one site, they met Helen Carter, a nurse who had been working nonstop since the earthquake hit. She had set up a medical station in a parking lot and was treating injured people as fast as they were brought to her. Her scrubs were dirty and torn, and she looked exhausted, but she continued working. "You have been working for 12 hours without significant rest," Zethver observed. "Your efficiency must be declining." Helen looked up from the patient she was treating. "Maybe, but people are hurt. They need help now, not after I've had a good night's sleep." "But you could become injured or ill from overwork. This would reduce your ability to help others in the future." Helen smiled tiredly. "I'll worry about the future later. Right now, this is where I need to be." The aliens watched as Helen continued treating patients. She worked on a construction worker with a broken arm, a child with cuts from broken glass, and an elderly man who was having trouble breathing. She treated each person with the same care and attention, never asking about their ability to pay or their importance to society. As the day wore on, Kevin noticed that the Veltar were becoming increasingly agitated. They huddled together frequently, speaking in their own language in urgent whispers. Their translator devices couldn't pick up their private conversations, but Kevin could tell they were deeply disturbed by what they were seeing. Finally, as evening approached, Zethver approached Kevin with a troubled expression. "Dr. Hall, we have observed behavior that contradicts everything we know about intelligent species. Your people risk their lives for strangers. They work beyond the point of exhaustion to help others. They share resources with no expectation of return. This behavior should not exist in a successful species." Kevin looked at the rescue operations continuing around them. "Why not?" "Because it is inefficient. It wastes resources and energy." "Natural selection should have eliminated such traits long ago." "Maybe," Kevin said, "but those traits are part of what makes us human. We take care of each other because we believe it's right, not because it's efficient." Zethver was quiet for a long moment. "We have never encountered a species like yours. We must report this to the Confederation immediately." Kevin realized that the aliens had discovered something about humanity that they had never seen before. The question was whether they would see it as a strength or a weakness. The weeks following the earthquake changed everything for the Veltar delegation. Chief Evaluator Zethver had sent urgent reports to the Confederation, but the responses he received only confused him more. His superiors demanded more detailed observations of human behavior, particularly the illogical actions they had witnessed during the disaster. Dr. Kevin Hall noticed the change in the aliens immediately. They had become more focused, more intense in their observations. They asked different questions now, probing deeper into human motivations and emotions. It was as if they were trying to solve a puzzle that had no logical solution. The delegation's next stop was a small elementary school in Denver. Principal Mary Johnson had agreed to let them observe normal classroom activities. Kevin walked through the hallways with Zethver, watching children play during recess and work on their lessons. In Mary's fifth-grade classroom, the students were studying the solar system. The children asked excited questions about planets and stars, their eyes bright with curiosity. Some questions had practical answers, but many did not. "Why is space so big?" asked a boy named Danny. "Will we ever meet aliens?" wondered a girl named Lisa. "What would happen if the sun turned purple?" asked another student. Mary answered each question patiently, encouraging the children to think and wonder about the universe around them. She never dismissed a question as silly or useless. Zethver watched this exchange with growing bewilderment. After class, he approached Mary with his usual directness. "The young ones ask questions that have no practical application," he observed. "Why do you encourage this behavior?" Mary smiled. "Because curiosity is how we learn and grow." Those questions might seem pointless now, but they show that these children are thinking about the world around them. That's how discoveries happen. But most of their questions will never lead to useful knowledge. This seems inefficient. Maybe, Mary said, but you never know which question might spark something important. Albert Einstein started out as a curious child asking questions about light and time. Those questions changed our understanding of the universe. The alien evaluator made notes on his device. Your species values questions more than answers. Sometimes, Mary agreed. Questions open doors to new possibilities. Answers can close them. Later that day, they visited a fire station where they met Rick Turner, a veteran firefighter with 20 years of experience. Rick was checking equipment when they arrived, making sure everything was ready for the next emergency call. Your job involves significant personal risk, Zethver observed. What compensation do you receive for this danger? Rick looked puzzled. I get paid like anyone else, but that's not why I do this job. Then why do you risk your life repeatedly? Rick thought. For a moment. Because people need help, and I can provide it. When someone's house is on fire, they need someone to come and help them. It's as simple as that. While they were talking, an alarm sounded. Rick immediately began putting on his gear, moving with practiced efficiency. An apartment building was on fire across town and people were trapped inside. We can observe your response procedures, Zethver said. You can watch from a safe distance, Rick replied, but stay out of our way. At the fire scene, the Veltar witnessed something that shook their understanding even more. The building was fully engulfed in flames and smoke poured from every window. Rick and his team rushed into the burning structure without hesitation. The probability of survival decreases significantly inside that structure, Zethver pointed out to Kevin. Why do they enter? Because there are people inside who need help, Kevin replied. But the risk-to-benefit ratio is extremely poor. The logical action would be to contain the fire and prevent it from spreading to other buildings. Before Kevin could respond, Rick emerged from the building carrying a small cat. The animal was frightened but unharmed. Rick handed the cat to its owner, an elderly woman who was crying with relief. You risked your life for a small animal? Zethver said to Rick afterward. This creature has no economic value and cannot reciprocate your assistance. Why did you save it? Rick looked at the alien like he was crazy, because it was scared and needed help. That's what we do. The Veltar delegation continued their observations, and each day brought new examples of human behavior that defied their understanding. They watched volunteers at a homeless shelter serving meals to people who could give nothing in return. They observed doctors treating patients regardless of their ability to pay. They saw teachers staying late to help struggling students who might never succeed at a children's hospital. They met Dr. Patricia Lee, a pediatric surgeon who specialized in treating children with serious illnesses. She worked long hours for modest pay, often dealing with heartbreaking cases. Many of your patients will not survive, Zethver observed bluntly. Why do you continue treating them when the outcome is predetermined? Dr. Lee looked at the alien with a mixture of sadness and determination. Because every child deserves a chance to live. Even if I can't save them all, I can try to give them more time with their families. I can help them be comfortable and know that someone cares about them. But the emotional toll on you must be significant. This reduces your efficiency and lifespan. Maybe, Dr. Lee said, but some things are more important than efficiency. Hope is one of them. The aliens observed human artists creating paintings that might never sell, musicians playing songs that brought them no profit, and writers telling stories that served no practical purpose. They watched people fall in love and make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. They saw families caring for elderly relatives who could contribute nothing to society. Every observation contradicted what the Veltar knew about successful species. In their confederation, advanced civilizations had eliminated these inefficiencies long ago. They had optimized their societies for maximum productivity and logical decision-making, but as the weeks passed, Zethver began to notice something else. Human society, despite its apparent inefficiencies, was dynamic and creative in ways that his confederation was not. Humans invented new technologies not just for practical purposes, but to explore possibilities. They created art that served no function except to inspire and beautify. They took risks that logical beings would never take. Dr. Hall, Zephyr said one evening as they watched the sunset from a hilltop outside the city, your species possesses qualities that should have been eliminated by natural selection, yet you have not only survived, but thrived. How is this possible? Kevin looked out at the city below, where millions of people were living their lives, helping each other, creating, and dreaming and hoping for better tomorrows. Maybe, Kevin said slowly, the things you see as weaknesses are actually our greatest strengths. Maybe caring about others, asking questions, and believing in impossible things is what makes us strong. Zephyr was quiet for a long time. We have never encountered a species like yours. We must reconsider everything we thought we knew about intelligent life. 3 months after the Veltar delegation had arrived on Earth, Chief Evaluator Zephyr called for an emergency meeting with world leaders. The meeting was held in the same conference room in Geneva where they had first met, but the atmosphere was completely different now. Dr. Kevin Hall sat beside Dr. Susan Wright, both of them wondering what the aliens had decided about humanity. The evaluation had gone on much longer than originally planned, and the Veltar had become increasingly secretive about their findings. President Julie Adams entered the room with other world leaders, all of them looking tense. This meeting would determine humanity's future relationship with the Galactic Confederation, and everyone knew it. Zephyr stood at the front of the room, his pale blue skin seeming to glow under the lights. His large eyes looked different somehow, less clinical and more thoughtful than they had been when he first arrived. Leaders of Earth, Zephyr began, his translation device carrying his words clearly through the room. We have completed our evaluation of your species. What we have discovered has changed everything we thought we knew about intelligent life. The room was completely silent. Kevin felt his heart beating faster as he waited for the aliens' verdict. For thousands of years, the Galactic Confederation has operated under certain principles, Zephyr continued. We believe that successful species must eliminate inefficiencies, emotions, and illogical behaviors to reach their full potential. We have built our civilizations on logic, efficiency, and rational decision-making. Kevin exchanged glances with Susan. This didn't sound like good news. Every species that has joined our confederation has followed this path. They have eliminated war by eliminating passion. They have eliminated suffering by eliminating deep emotions. They have eliminated waste by eliminating activities that serve no practical purpose. Zephyr paused and looked around the room. We came to Earth expecting to find another species following this same path. Instead, we found something we have never encountered before. The alien evaluator activated a holographic display that showed images from their time on Earth, pictures of the earthquake rescue, the firefighter saving the cat, the children asking questions about purple suns, the doctor treating patients she couldn't save. Your species possesses qualities that should have been eliminated by natural selection. You risk your lives for strangers. You create art that serves no function except beauty. You ask questions that have no practical answers. You make decisions based on emotions rather than logic. President Adams leaned forward. Are you saying we failed your evaluation? No, Zephyr said, and Kevin felt a wave of relief wash over him. We are saying that your evaluation has changed us. The alien walked closer to the human leaders. We have discovered that in our pursuit of logical perfection, we have lost something essential. Our civilizations are efficient, but they are also stagnant. We have eliminated suffering, but we have also eliminated joy. We have achieved peace, but we have lost the passion that drives true progress. Kevin could hardly believe what he was hearing. The aliens weren't rejecting humanity, they were learning from them. Your species has something that no other species in the Confederation possesses, Zephyr continued. You have the ability to hope for better tomorrows even in the face of certain failure. You have the courage to dream of impossible things and then work to make them real. You have the compassion to care for others even when it brings you no benefit. The holographic display changed to show images of human achievements. Scientists working late into the night on research that might fail. Artists creating masterpieces that few would ever see. Parents sacrificing for their children's futures. Volunteers helping strangers with no expectation of reward. "We have reported our findings to the Confederation," Zethver said. "The response has been unprecedented. For the first time in our history, we are not offering membership to a species we have evaluated." The room fell silent again. Kevin felt his stomach drop. "Instead," Zethver continued, "we are asking if humanity would be willing to teach us." The words hung in the air like a miracle. Kevin looked around the room and saw the same amazement on every face. "You want to learn from us?" President Adams asked. "We want to learn what we have forgotten," Zethver replied. "We want to understand how to feel joy again. We want to remember what it means to hope. We want to rediscover the passion that drives creation and growth." Over the following weeks, the most unprecedented cultural exchange in galactic history began. The Veltar requested to establish learning centers on Earth where their people could study human behavior and emotions. They wanted to understand how humans balanced logic with feeling, efficiency with creativity, survival with compassion. The first group of alien students arrived a month later. They were scientists, artists, and philosophers from across the Confederation, all eager to learn about the strange human qualities that had captured their attention. Engineer Carl Thompson found himself teaching alien scientists not just about human technology, but about the human drive to innovate and explore. "We don't just build things because we need them," he explained to a group of fascinated alien engineers. "We build them because we wonder what's possible." Dr. Patricia Lee worked with alien doctors who wanted to understand why humans would treat patients they couldn't save. "Hope isn't about guaranteeing success," she told them. "It's about believing that trying matters even when the outcome is uncertain." Mary Johnson taught alien educators about the value of encouraging questions that had no immediate answers. "Curiosity is like a seed," she explained. "You never know what will grow from it." The exchange wasn't one-sided. Humans learned about technologies and perspectives that expanded their understanding of the universe. But the aliens insisted that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their knowledge, but their wisdom about how to live with meaning and purpose. Children from Earth began playing with young aliens, teaching them games that had no purpose except fun. Human artists collaborated with alien creators to produce works that combined logical precision with emotional depth. Scientists from both species worked together, combining alien efficiency with human creativity to make discoveries that neither could have achieved alone. The galaxy discovered that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their military might, but their ability to find beauty in struggle, meaning in sacrifice, and hope in the face of uncertainty. The aliens had come to evaluate whether humans were ready to join their civilization, but instead learned that their civilization needed what humanity had never lost. As Zethver prepared to return to his home world with the first group of alien students, he stood with Kevin watching human children teach alien younglings how to play soccer. The game had no purpose except joy, but the laughter that filled the air was perhaps the most important sound in the galaxy. "You have given us something we didn't know we had lost," Zethver said. "You have reminded us what it means to be alive." Kevin smiled as he watched the children play. "Maybe that's what the universe has been waiting for. Not perfect beings, but beings who never stop trying to be better." The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities that no one could have imagined before two species learned that their greatest differences were actually their greatest gifts to each other.